Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes, and this is the story of our virtual world, a history of the MMORPG, Part 5. With devious mud covering the lower-end gaming market, development company Verant Interactive and producer Brad McQuaid were aiming at the higher end. They were planning to release a powerful new MMORPG with a huge 3D world, expansive character stat trees, and complex, involving combat. An ambitious goal. Brad knew previous 3D MMORPGs had either failed to live up to expectation or had failed to meet sales. He had to make not only one of the best MMORPGs, but one of the best games ever. So in March of 1999, they released Everquest, and the MMORPG landscape was changed forever. Everquest had taken everything we know about MMORPGs and then added more. New players could create a character, often referred to as a toon, pick a race, then a class, then customize their face. Once in the game, you had an intimidating amount of character information available to you, and each attribute, an aspect of your character, could be tracked and trained, from your hit points and physical strength to your dexterity and wisdom, all the way to your ability to resist disease. Everquest was deep. As a player, you would explore the land of Norath, from forests to deserts, dungeons to castles. The graphics were exceptional for the time and still hold a retro appeal today. Older screenshots show us the standard MMORPG game layout, text to the bottom, main game center, information around the edge. In this list, we've looked at which games added something to the genre. Each game has brought something new. So what did Everquest do? What did this game do for the MMORPG? Did it bring a new mechanic or a new gameplay element? Did it add or remove something for the better? Everquest actually did more than that. It did something no 3D MMORPG had yet done. It succeeded. Everquest released at the right time with the right graphics and the right gameplay. You could adventure solo or team up with your friends, form groups, kill bosses, loot treasure, train your skills, or stand around and chat. And it hit the 1999 home computer boom perfectly. People were buying computers and they were joining the internet. And if you didn't have a computer or internet access, Everquest was the reason to get both. Everquest was the popular jump the genre needed. No more English translations of Korean games. No more isometric viewpoints. Here was a fully 3D, homegrown online adventure. Within 1 year, it had surpassed Ultima Online. Everquest would see a number of expansions released for it over the years. The first 4 of these were physical box copies. The later were digital downloads. Today, these boxes are rare collector's items and often sell for hundreds of pounds. It seems Everquest had done it, pushing the power of the home PC and internet speed to its limits, bringing together thousands of players and lining store shelves. The big MMORPG was here, and it was here to stay. But this isn't the end of our story. This is the beginning. The MMORPG was here. Everquest may not have been the first to do it, but it was the first to show the world what the future could look like. It would be 8 months until a company felt brave enough to take on Everquest, and then 2 challenges would appear at the same time. Technology moves quickly. The old saying is, a computer is outdated the moment you get it home, and that's true. Knowing this, the engine Everquest had been created with, the graphics of the time, and the extreme levels of detail were now 6 months old, and customers love the latest, shiniest thing. Developers Turbine Entertainment Software, working with designers Toby Regani and Chris Pearson, had created a fantasy MMO they believe would topple Everquest, and in November of 1999 they released Asherons Call. Set on the fantasy planet of Orberan, Asherons Call allowed players to create a character by picking a race, then distributing stat points to various attributes. But then, unlike Everquest, did not lock you to a specific class, allowing you to level up and improve all your attributes, and even reallocate them later in the game. This free-form leveling system was a breath of fresh air for players, and gave a level of character freedom not seen before in any of the 3D MMORPGs. No longer locked into the role of being a wizard or a warrior, players could enjoy the whole game without limitations. While not the cultural landmark that Everquest was, Asherons Call found a solid player base. The free-form character creation and limitless leveling system allowed players to find their own personal favourite build or playstyle, then team up with others who complemented them, strengths and weaknesses combining to form a perfect party. But what did it bring to the table? Beyond being a decent game, what did Asherons Call actually change? Well, it did not use zoning. Online worlds are large places, so to reduce the server load and graphical processing demands of both the server and the client computer, they're often partitioned off into distinct zones, smaller areas of one larger world. You could consider a single room of your house a zone. Asherons Call did not do this, instead opting for one single seamless world, and it achieved this by passing some of the processing power required to multiple servers and client computers. When one server was struggling to process everything, an empty one would assist. A group of processing computers were known as a cluster, and only through cluster processing could something as big as Asherons Call work. The open world was impressive and the gameplay solid, but there was nothing here to pull the hardcore Everquest fans over. Asherons Call was technically proficient, but technical specs aren't everything when it comes to a game, and launching 8 months after Everquest meant it was constantly playing catch-up. Asherons Call would rise to the 3rd spot of the most subscribed to MMORPGs, behind Everquest and Ultima Online. Side note, developer Toby Regani would go on to become executive producer at Zynga, the force behind Farmville, Zynga Poker and Words with Friends 2. Chris Pearson would later work as a writer for Lord of the Rings Online. With Asherons Call failing to dethrone the king, game developers decided to take the online world in another direction and focus on a demographic that was currently untouched. In November of 1999, the same month that Asherons Call released, developers Adam and Donna Powell released an online collection game aimed at children, called Neopets. Up until now, online gaming was the world of the responsible adult, starting in universities, then home computers or consoles being expensive. Both of these heavily limited the audience a game could reach, but now children were going to computer class in schools, libraries had internet access, and the younger market was hungry for a game just for them. Neopets launched on the 15th of November and managed to balance the perfect combination of just simple enough to play and just complex enough to be interesting, and children around the world flocked to it. Neopets didn't feature an immersive 3D world or action-packed quests. Instead, it was focused on collecting virtual pets. You as a player would have a virtual storage area, and then a virtual world you explored by clicking from screen to screen. It was brightly coloured and child-friendly. Websites are often measured in stickiness. This measures the amount of time a user spends stuck to them. In 2001, Neopets was leading the stickiness war, with the average user spending almost 2 hours a week on the game. I understand in the modern world of MMORPGs 2 hours is effectively nothing, but for the time this was huge. Within the game were 2 major currencies: Neo Points, which could be earned by playing the game, and Neo Cash, which must be bought with real money. Rare or exclusive pets, costumes or additions to your virtual Neo home could be bought with both of these. The success of Neopets saw the rise of a more insidious side of gaming: the advertising. The late 90s was the golden age for early morning cartoons, benefiting from reruns of 80s classics and the new kids on the block such as X-Men, the Rugrats, and Pokemon. Neopets had a young audience hooked, and advertisers wasted no time in sinking their claws in. Neopets branded everything sprung up: stickers, books, even cereal. Neopets had transcended the video game world and was now part of childhood culture. This success was a blessing and a curse for the industry. Until now, video games had relied on quality and gameplay innovation to sell. Now it seemed they could simply focus on mass appeal, especially to children. This association of online gaming and Neopets pushed many people to believe the video game world is childish, and the online video game world even more so. To a non-gamer, Asherons Call and Neopets were the same, and the social stigma of online gaming was cultivated. The early 2000s began as a bad time for MMORPGs, with Asherons Call failing to knock Everquest down. Developers were extremely wary of funding another large online game, and with the lucrative children's market being dominated by Neopets, it didn't seem like there were any gaps left to fill. January saw the first casualties of the decade. Due to falling subscribers and increased market competition, the pioneers Island of Kesmai and Legends of Future Past both shut down. When an online game closes down, it's not just the developers that suffer, it's the thousands of players that devoted thousands of hours of their lives to it, the friendships online bonds made and adventures shared. Shutting a game down isn't just ending the game, it's ending a community. The following 7 months were uneventful in the MMORPG world. Everquest, Ultima Online and Asherons Call battled for dominance. Devious Mud sat quietly in the background, being played on school computers everywhere, and Neopets jumped out at you from the toy stores. Then, the year claimed another victim. The grandfather of the genre, Meridian 59, was about to start the long process of dying. The controlling company 3DO shut Meridian 59 down on August 31st. Thanks to a developer of the game leaking the source code, however, fan-owned private servers would keep the game running, but not in an official capacity. 4 months later, developers finally found the gap in the market they were hoping for. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this fantastic journey. If you want to support this series and channel, you can help out by simply liking, commenting, subscribing or sharing. A big thank you to all my supporters on Patreon who have made this whole thing possible. If you'd like to become a patron, the links are in the description. See you in the next video, and as always, have a great day.